Okay, so get this. You sent in this whole collection of declassified documents
Oh, wow.
about some secret government program
Oh?
looking into, get this, unconventional and revolutionary aerospace technologies.
Ah,
So, and are a little bit like a sci-fi movie, right?
yeah, it really does sort of capture the imagination.
Right.
We're talking about things like making things invisible,
Yeah.
propulsion systems that use antimatter, uh,
Bro.
ideas that most people would think are pure fantasy.
Exactly. So today we're going on a deep dive
Okay.
into this program. It's called the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, or ATIP for short.
Right.
We'll look at where it came from, the research it funded. Some of it's really mind-blowing, and we'll talk about why it never get that super secret status its sponsors really wanted.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that this program didn't start like in some dark corner of the intelligence world.
Right.
It actually started in Congress.
That's right. Yep. A $10 million earmark. In a 2008 defense spending bill
Oh, okay.
pushed by Senators Harry Reid and Daniel Inouye,
Interesting.
they wanted to investigate what they called revolutionary advances in future aerospace technologies and figure out if there were any potential threats from unconventional and LEAP aerospace vehicles.
So they were really thinking ahead, huh?
Yeah, definitely. And they knew exactly who they wanted to run this program. Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies,
Okay.
or Bigelow Aerospace.
Yep.
As in the company that makes those inflatable space habitats.
That's the one.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they have a whole division focused on advanced space studies. Their job was to put together teams of experts
Got it.
to look into these cutting-edge aerospace technologies.
So what kind of research are we talking about here? Was it all super top secret from the start?
Well, actually, they began by focusing on unclassified research.
Okay,
Bigelow's worked with academics and scientists
gotcha.
to create 38 technical reports
Wow,
on all sorts of different aerospace technologies.
38 reports. That's a lot. What were some of the big research areas they looked into? I mean, I have to know more about this invisibility thing.
Yeah, well, you're in luck. Invisibility cloaking was a big one.
Okay.
They were looking into ways to manipulate light and other electromagnetic radiation
Uh-huh.
to make an object completely disappear.
Wow.
And the people who reviewed the report were really impressed.
Oh, wow.
One of them even said it was a great job of explaining what true cloaking or invisibility actually means.
So they were seriously trying to make things invisible.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Uh-huh.
What else did they research?
Another fascinating area was positron aerospace propulsion.
Okay.
So imagine like a propulsion system
Right.
that uses the energy created when matter and antimatter annihilate each other.
Oh, wow.
It's a very theoretical concept, but one reviewer thought it was exciting enough to recommend it to other researchers, aerospace scientists, and even people making policy decisions.
Wow. So it sounds like they were looking at super futuristic ideas, but also things that maybe could be used sooner. Did they research anything with more immediate real world applications?
Yeah, they did. One area was metallic glasses.
Okay.
These are materials with unique properties that could change how we design and build spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
They're much stronger and lighter than traditional materials.
Yeah.
The reviewers were really excited about the potential of these metallic glasses, with one saying they outperformed current materials in almost every way.
That makes sense. Lighter and stronger materials are, perfect for space travel.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of their research have applications here back on Earth?
Yeah, one report looked at the potential of vacuum energy.
Okay.
This is the idea of pulling energy straight from the quantum vacuum of space. While it's still up for debate whether this is even possible, the report got good reviews for being clear and understandable.
Trying to get energy from empty space, that's thinking outside the box. Anything else that we could use here on Earth?
One area with potential down here is controlling devices without limb-operated interfaces.
Okay.
Basically, they were looking into ways to control robots and machines using your thoughts. It could be huge for pilots in an advanced spacecraft.
Yeah.
While the technology isn't there yet, the report noted how much effort is being put into different approaches.
That's incredible, controlling things with your mind. So we have invisible spacecraft, antimatter engines, and mind-controlled robots. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But now things start to get really interesting.
Yeah.
In 2009, Senator Reid sent a letter to Deputy Secretary of Defense William Lynn III,
Right.
asking for ATIP to be made into a Restricted Special Access Program, or SAP. This would make it super classified, like only a few people having access to it.
Right. In his letter, Senator Reid talked about, highly sensitive, unconventional aerospace-related findings.
Yeah.
He was worried that foreign intelligence agencies would be interested in this research. He really thought the program had found something extraordinary that needed to be kept secret.
So he thought it was more than just theories. He thought there were real-world implications that had to be protected. So what did the Pentagon think about all of this?
Well, the DIA, who was managing the ATIP, wasn't so keen on Senator Reid's request.
Okay.
They looked at all the research, and they said there was no reason to make it a SAP.
Wait, they disagreed with the senator who started the program? That's a pretty bold move. Why did they push back?
They felt that most of the research was mainly academic and wouldn't really hurt national security if it got out. They didn't think the research needed that level of secrecy, at least not at that point.
So we have a senator pushing for top secret status and the DIA saying, hold on, it's not that big of a deal.
Exactly. And because of this difference of opinion, a meeting was set up between Senator Reid, Deputy Secretary Lynn, and the director of the DIA.
Oh, I bet that meeting was tense. What happened?
Actually, it was more about finding a way forward. Even though the DIA didn't want to make it a SAP, they admitted that other parts of the Department of Defense might find the research useful.
So they were saying this research might be helpful, but not for us? What did they suggest doing?
Well, they said that once the DIA's contract with BASE ended, the program could be moved to a different agency.
Okay.
They also mentioned that maybe in the future there could be more research, development, and acquisition based on what they found, and then maybe it would need to be a SAP.
So a bit of a compromise. They weren't completely shutting down the research. They just wanted someone else to take it over.
That's right, and this brings up an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
If the DIA didn't think it needed to be top secret, why was Senator Reid so insistent?
Yeah.
Did he know something that the DIA didn't? Or did he have another reason for wanting to keep it all under wraps?
That is a great question. What do you think was going on? What really happened to this research? We'll try to get to the bottom of this when we come back in part 2 of our deep dive into ATIP.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications program. You sent in some fascinating material.
ATIP, the program that seems to get more and more interesting the more we learn about it. Before we took a pause, we were talking about how the DIA didn't want to give the program a higher level of secrecy.
Wow.
Even though Senator Reid thought its findings should be extraordinarily protected.
It is a fascinating story, isn't it? And this is where things get really intriguing.
Yeah.
The DIA's decision against making it a SAP wasn't just about what was in the research reports.
Okay.
They were also worried about how it would affect other intelligence programs they were running.
What other programs were they worried about?
Well, one document mentions that the DIA was already in the process of moving ATIP to another agency.
Okay.
Maybe because Senator Reid was pushing so hard for that SAP classification. They also noted that the program manager for the contract with BASE was about to retire and wasn't going to move to the new agency.
So they were in the middle of a big transition. Did they say why they wanted to move the program in the first place?
They didn't come right out and say it, but it's clear they were trying to separate themselves from all the drama surrounding ATIP and Senator Reid's demands.
Yeah.
They even said they were worried the senator might try to keep the program at the DIA, even though the agency was moving and losing key people.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they thought it would be too disruptive.
It does sound like they were trying to avoid a political mess, but this also makes you think that the decision to move the program wasn't just about the science. There were definitely other things going on.
You're absolutely right, and that's a key takeaway from this deep dive.
Yeah.
ATIP isn't just about groundbreaking scientific research.
Right.
It's also about how science, politics, and national security all get tangled up together. Decisions about funding, classification, and even what research gets done are often affected by things that have nothing to do with the technical aspects.
Mm-hmm. So we have a program looking into technologies that could be revolutionary. A senator who wants to keep everything top secret, and an intelligence agency trying to walk away from the whole thing.
Yep.
What happened next? Did ATIP actually get moved? And if so, where did it end up?
That's where things get a little unclear. The documents you provided don't really answer that question. What we do know is that the DIA's contract with BASE for ATIP was supposed to end in fiscal year 2010. There's a mention of a possible $12 million earmark for the program in the FY 2010 defense budget, but we don't know if that money was actually approved or where it went.
That's frustrating. We're left with a cliffhanger. The DIA is walking away. The program is supposed to go somewhere else, but we don't know if it got funding or where it went.
It is a bit of a mystery, and it highlights another important point. Even when documents are declassified, the world of government programs and classified research can be very secretive. Sometimes there are parts that are blacked out,
Yeah.
pages missing, or the most important pieces of the puzzle are just gone.
So even with these documents, we have more questions than answers. Where do you think the ATIP went? What do you think happened to it? And what does all of this mean for the future of research into these advanced aerospace technologies? Do you think it's still going on somewhere?
Based on what we know, it's likely that the program was moved to another agency within the Department of Defense, and even though the DIA didn't think it should be SAP at the time, it's possible the new agency might have felt differently.
Especially if they are supposed to be looking into how these technologies could actually be used, like maybe for developing advanced weapons, that would definitely make it top secret.
Exactly. So while the official story of ATIP goes quiet after 2010, it's entirely possible that the research continued maybe under a new name, with a new agency, and with a level of secrecy that keeps it hidden from the public even today.
That's a wild thought. A program exploring technologies that could change how wars are fought, operating in the shadows, completely hidden from public view. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's exciting and unsettling at the same time.
And this brings us to another important takeaway. Researching advanced technologies, especially ones that could be used in warfare, often raises some serious ethical questions. Questions about being transparent, accountable, and the potential consequences of letting technology advance without any limits. These are questions we need to grapple with as we learn more about these intriguing yet unsettling areas of research. What do you think about all this?
Those are really important questions. It makes you think about how much control we have over the technologies we create and how do we make sure that those technologies are used responsibly. It's definitely something to think about as we delve deeper into this mysterious world of ATIP. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into the mysterious ATIP program.
We've uncovered quite a story, haven't we?
Yeah.
ATIP gives us a look into this fascinating world where, like, cutting-edge science meets national security concerns.
Exactly. Before we paused, we were trying to figure out what might have happened to ATIP after the DIA decided to let it go in 2010.
And we left off with the possibility that the research might have been moved to another agency, maybe even with a higher level of classification.
Yeah, we were wondering if those far-out technologies like invisibility cloaking or positron propulsion actually started to show some promise.
Yeah.
So let's imagine for a moment that this research is still going on.
Yeah.
And that some of these mind-blowing technologies are actually starting to work. What would that mean?
Well, that brings up some really big questions about, keeping things secret for national security versus being transparent with the public.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you can understand why the government wouldn't want to tell everyone about technologies that could completely change how wars are fought.
Especially if they think those technologies would give them a big advantage over their enemies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, how much secrecy is too much? At what point does it become a problem? And how do we make sure that these powerful technologies aren't developed and used without any public discussion or oversight?
Yeah, those are questions that people have been debating for a long time.
Right.
And they become even more important when we're talking about technologies that could completely change what war looks like.
Imagine a world where invisibility cloaks are real.
Yeah.
Or where spacecraft are powered by antimatter.
Right. These aren't just technologies that would change the military.
Right.
They could change everything.
Exactly.
And if they're being developed in secret with no one watching or asking questions, that could be really dangerous.
Exactly. It makes you realize that programs like ATIP, even though they seem like they're straight out of science fiction, they deserve our attention.
They make us think about difficult questions, like the role of science and technology in our society.
Yeah.
And what could happen if technology keeps advancing without any limits or control?
So after spending all this time looking at ATIP, what do we take away from it all? What does it all mean?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the world of advanced technology is a lot more complicated than we might think.
We can't just, like, ignore these programs and say they're just science fiction.
Right.
But we also can't just trust that the government has everything under control.
Right. They were certainly interested in these topics.
Yeah.
Whether or not it turned into some massive top-secret program we don't know about.
Right.
We have to stay informed, engaged, and be willing to ask tough questions about the technologies that are being developed.
We can't just assume everything is fine.
Exactly.
And we have to demand transparency and accountability from those in power.
Right.
Even when they say they need to keep things secret for national security.
Yeah.
How else are we supposed to know what's going on and have a say in our future?
Because in the end, these technologies and how they affect our world is something we should all be concerned about.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought. The documents we looked at today gave us a fascinating, even though incomplete, glimpse into a secret world of advanced aerospace research. But they also raise a big question. What other programs exploring what other incredible technologies might be out there, hidden from public view? It's a question worth asking and a journey of discovery worth taking. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into ATIP 8 Up.
I would have been on top of the charts, but it's politics. You do some gimmick shit and post, you get a lot of clicks. Drop some real shit and they probably won't acknowledge it.